The balloon is about to go up and you had better get ready. Good morning this Sunday morning, and this is another Watchman update. Reports coming for you guys from all over on what you guys are seeing, what you guys are hearing, and what's going on. We got Elon Musk demanding 1 million plus government workers report on what they accomplished last week or get fired. Wow, that's a big change from what we've seen recently in the last several decades. Our allies overseas are now admitting that they've been taking advantage of the United States with tariffs. Warren Buffett has sold more stocks. He has gathered up a massive cash pile because he is prepared for an epic market crash. We'll talk about that. We got the Watchmen community uncovering Medicare fraud at their medical office. And we have another Watchman family having to tap their preps after a water issue. Their story here as well, and so very much more. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are your updates. If you have something to share, make sure you use the word update somewhere in your comment. That gets it to the right place. You can comment on this video or at any video on this channel. Before we go any further, we do want to thank our sponsor, Genesis Gold Group. They help people who have retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks. If you want to get into physical metals in your retirement plan instead of risky stocks, risky bonds, then Jonathan and his team can talk to you about what that looks like and see if it's a good fit for you and your retirement plans. There'll be a link at the end of the video. Elon Musk's Doge Department, or Department of Governmental Efficiency, which sounds like an oxymoron, but they emailed over 1 million federal workers with a simple email asking them for 5 bullet points of what they personally accomplished last week at their work. Or if they don't submit it, they lose their jobs. Everyone is losing their minds over this, and Elon Musk replied, it takes less than 5 minutes. It takes less than 5 minutes and lets us know who's actually doing stuff that's important and who's not. Yeah? As several dozen of you noted yesterday, I changed Las Vegas, New Mexico to Las Vegas, Nevada, not realizing there's a New Mexico one, which, as dozens of you pointed out, apparently there is one. So that must have been correct. Las Vegas, New Mexico. Sorry for insulting you. Warren Buffett's famous Berkshire Hathaway investment giant has sold even more stocks. They have now amassed the biggest cash pile ever. What do they see that we don't? Afraid to invest in stocks at these overpriced and ridiculous levels. The smartest investor of all time, Warren Buffett, right now is structuring his investments and is structuring all of the investors that he manages their money for an epic market crash. Is it a good place to be in stocks? I don't know. The smart money seems to think no. Hedge funds are dumping stocks. We got a lot of investment and banks dumping stocks, and Warren Buffett's dumping stocks. So you do with that as you will. That's not investment advice. I'm just giving you the lay of the land. All the smart insiders seem to be dumping stocks. French leader Macron, not the tasty Macrons, but the leftist woke kind of Macron. He urged President Trump not to make allies suffer with tariffs. Now, what Trump has proposed is reciprocal tariffs. If France has placed a 10% tariff, say, on U.S. cars, which they've placed a larger one than that, then the United States will reciprocate by putting a 10% tariff on French cars. Just fair, isn't it? So Macron and our allies seem to be acknowledging that our allies have been making the United States suffer for a very long time. Interesting. It's kind of a self-own if you think about it. Trump has ordered the banning of Chinese companies and individuals from purchasing U.S. farmland. That's something we've been trying to get for a while now. but seems like it's finally going to happen. Farmland and U.S. houses. People from overseas trying to buy U.S. houses for investment purposes, particularly Chinese businesses, companies, and wealthy individuals. Not for coming over and visiting, but rather for investment purposes. Trump has begun to purge the Department of Defense, firing the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Good riddance. The Navy chief and other generals and high-ranking flag officers. He's been purging political hires and political promotions in favor of warfighters. It's about time. Yeah. Germany is having a major election today, and we're going to see if the courts invalidate it. They invalidated the Romanian election because of Russian interference. They just the presidential election didn't count because we didn't like the results. And we've seen others out there openly saying that they are going to invalidate the German election if AfD, or the alternative for Germany, wins. We will see what happens today. As this video gets posted, we're getting close to the polls starting to close over in Germany. Sandra says, update on our water company has only a 24-hour backup power. Was curious, so I called and just asked. You can do that, friends. Want to call up your your water company and just ask them how much of a power backup they have? You can do that. They may answer you, they may not. Trish says, speaking about the exercises in Okinawa, evacuation of families and such, had those exercises involving families while stationed in Germany. Had to put my kids' names and contact info on their clothes and go with one bag to a designated place. Each soldier had a person to call and then report in. When the balloon goes up, drill is what it's called. Well, that's happening in Okinawa. M says, as a former military, I was involved in assisting evacuating families back from the Middle East to the United States several years ago. Given it was the Middle East, no big surprise. However, Okinawa evacuation of civilians is very unusual, since Oki is pretty much a ho-hum area in terms of safety. This is quite concerning, indeed, because the only reason that Japan would suddenly become dangerous is if we're talking about a massive Taiwanese standoff or a North Korean invasion of some sort. This is very concerning that Japan is being considered a hazardous duty station. If it's dangerous in Japan, that means the Pacific Rim has gotten as dangerous as the movie Pacific Rim. If you haven't watched that one, great movie. Giant monsters, giant robots fighting. It's fantastic. Number 2, not so great. But number 1, it's good. It's good. Dolliver says, I put 3 pounds of ground chuck in my Amazon grocery cart on last Wednesday, but never checked out. Today, I looked at my cart and noticed that I had a message about the items in my cart. The message said that there was a price change on the ground chuck. The price went from $8.97 for 3 pounds to $14.99. We live in northern Kentucky. Beef prices are about to spike through the roof, friends. I've been warning you about this, and the problem is now at the slaughterhouses. The butcher houses are, they don't have enough cattle. We've already seen that they are several million head short at the feedlots. So, ranch, the cattle get sold to the feedlots that are attached to the slaughterhouses, and then they go from the feedlot, after they get fattened up with corn, they go into the slaughterhouse, they get turned into hamburger. Well, steaks and everything else like that, right? Oftentimes, your ground beef is actually coming from milk cows. So that's a fun little fact there, is that most of your ground beef is coming from milk cows. So when you see Angus ground beef, you're like, oh, that's not coming from a Holstein, right? But beef prices are about to go through the roof. Several million short in that process, and it's getting worse. And that's going to hit the slaughterhouses, and then that's going to hit the warehouses, the aging and the freezers and all that, and it's going to end up hitting you at the retail stores in the next couple months. Stock up on beef, friends, if you want beef. Blue Ridge, Virginia says, trip to Costco today in Northern Virginia. Limit of 2 cartons of eggs. We've seen that all over the place, right? 0 chicken thighs, though, available. This is the second time in 3 weeks. Chicken is starting to get a little scarce out there. I don't know why we don't actually have too much tracking data on how the meat birds are being impacted by bird flu so much. It's still like 90+% of the bird flu cases or cullings are actually taking place of egg-laying hens. So now there's reasons for that, and I know a bunch of you are like, that sounds suspicious. And I don't know that it is, because egg-laying hens tend to be older, and meat birds, they get slaughtered so quickly. I mean, they just get born and hatched, and then they just get fattened up until they get slaughtered. They get slaughtered pretty fast, so they don't really have too much time. And you don't see them replacing, like in the egg-laying hens, they're always kind of putting new hens into those houses, whereas the meat birds, they all kind of stay with themselves. Like, so you put a whole bunch of them in one house and you just fatten them up until they get big enough, and then you slaughter the whole house. You don't kind of mix and match them. You don't move them around too much, from my understanding. So you may not have as much cross-pollination of these birds. Deb says, update, I called 3 different local tractor supplies in Northeast Texas. Though they are advertising the annual chick days, they have no chicks. The staff I spoke with said that they expect some hopefully next week, with prices ranging from $3.49 to $10 each. That's expensive if you've never bought chicks before. It seems at least one store had a small delivery which sold out very quickly. So if you are considering getting some, you may want to pay close attention to the local farm stores. I'm debating hatching out some of my own eggs and selling chicks. If you can, friends, you may be able to really help some neighbors out, some people nearby, and you may win some friends. Friends who want to be more self-sufficient. Think about that. If you go on Craigslist or Facebook, and I don't know if you're allowed to do that on Facebook, you're probably not, since you're not allowed to do anything liberty-oriented on Facebook. But if you can advertise in some way chicks, think about this. Who's going to buy those chicks? People that you may want to have a relationship with, right? People in your neighborhood that are interested in the same kind of things that you are. People who are worried about what's going on. Those sound like quality people. So sometimes it's the network connections that you build which are more important than the money that you're going to make off the endeavor. Always be thinking about that, right? It's not just about making the money, but making those connections locally. KL says, my list of medical concerns on my post-visit report has grown to over 30 diagnoses. Some doubled and some incorrect. I have brought this to my doctor's attention, wondering if that list is being reported for billing to Medicare. Check your list. Sometimes these diagnoses can be removed upon your request if unreasonable. We're talking about the fraud United Health Group. They put in $8.7 billion worth of fraudulent and erroneous diagnoses to Medicare for payment. This was just in one single year in 2021. We talked about that, was it yesterday? CB says, Southwest Indiana. We bought a 5-pound tube of 93% ground beef at Walmart. When we cooked it up and drained it, the liquid weighed out to be 14 ounces. 18% of the 5-pound, and you're not even talking about how much evaporated in that process too. It seemed like an excess amount of waste for what is called lean ground beef. Now, of course, the tallow you can use for all sorts of things, right? So don't throw that tallow away. If you guys are cooking up ground beef and you get a bunch of fat off that, keep that fat. You can use it for cooking. You can use it for frying things up. Great flavor. There's lots of different things. You can use that for grease, for things. You can use that for candles, and look up all the uses for tallow. Don't be throwing away stuff that you bought with your hard-earned money, right? When it can be used for something profitable that will make you more prepared, right? Prepping and being prepared oftentimes is the little things that add up. Just not being wasteful, right? Real Not Fake says, prepping came in real handy the past 2 days. Some people don't realize how important prepping water is. Our water was off in our neighborhood for almost 2 days due to a burst water line. Thanks to prepping for 15 years, we have 2 325-gallon water containers with faucets on them. Plus, we keep 20 gallons of filtered water prepped at all times for cooking, drinking, and pets. Non-potable water, potable water. You need to have both those things. Sorry, lost my place. We also have 2 water filter systems just in case. What a blessing. There's nothing that will get you more prepared than a disaster that you have that you're partially prepared for. Because while you're partially prepared, you're going, man, I wish I had all these extra things, right? Get out your notepad. If you have a disaster, if the power goes out or whatever, or water goes out, get your notepad out and start listing things that you wish you had. And then when the power comes back on, when the water comes back on, when the disaster's over, get stocked up. It really impresses it upon your heart. And even better yet, don't wait for a disaster. Go downstairs, grab your water cut off your water, and have a water-free weekend. See how you do. Because when you do it like that, if you run into a lot of trouble, you can just turn your water back on and no harm, no foul. But you'll learn a lot of things. Same thing with power. For 24 hours or something like that, go down and just flip all the breakers or flip your master breaker and try to survive without electricity coming in from the grid. You're going to find out what you're prepared for and what you're not prepared for. All right, this is from What's Next. Thanks for the updates, Steve. This is going to eventually get crazy, folks. Thank God for people watching this and keeping everyone ahead of the game, allowing them to be prepared way ahead of time. Pray and prep, everyone. These events keep adding on us with no end in sight. It's absolutely true. All right, friends, if you want to find out more about what you can do with the Genesis Gold and with your retirement account, there's a link right there on the screen. Just tap it, and then it'll bring up a form, fill out your information, and they'll get in contact with you. You can always find out their contact information down in the description down below. You can, if you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. It's usually the most recent one, but check that out. Just tap it on there, and it'll take you right to the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.